A Rolls-Royce Phantom seems almost impossibly calm. Its paint reflects the world like dark liquid glass. Its doors move with controlled weight. Inside, leather, polished wood, metal and light come together without a visible seam out of place. But this apparent simplicity can require more than 600 hours of work. At Goodwood, in southern England, advanced machinery creates repeatable precision. Yet many of the decisions that define the finished Phantom still depend on trained human eyes, steady hands, and years of experience. A 3mm line is painted without masking tape. Leather is examined piece by piece. Wood from one tree is matched across the entire cabin. Hundreds of optical fibres are inserted individually into the roof. This is not simply how a luxury car is assembled. It is how raw engineering is transformed into something personal. This is how a Rolls-Royce Phantom is hand-built. Long before a physical car moves through the factory, the process begins with a commission. A Phantom is not normally produced as an anonymous object waiting for an owner. Its colors, materials and details are selected for an individual client. The exterior alone can begin with a palette containing tens of thousands of colors. If the required shade does not already exist, specialists may develop a new one from a physical reference. It could be inspired by a flower, a jewel, a work of art or another personally significant object. Inside, the decisions become even more interconnected. The color of the leather must work with the stitching, piping and carpets. The wood grain must continue across separate dashboard and door components. Embroidery and perforated designs must fit curved surfaces without interfering with seams, switches, or safety systems. Phantom also contains the gallery, an uninterrupted glass enclosure across the dashboard that can display a commissioned artwork. Every creative request must therefore become a technical specification. Designers establish the colors and materials. Engineers confirm that the concept can be manufactured. Material specialists prepare samples. Craftspeople assess how the surfaces must be cut, joined and finished. Only after these decisions have been resolved can one client's Phantom begin its physical journey. Beneath the finished surfaces is Rolls-Royce's proprietary architecture of luxury. Instead of adapting a conventional mass-production platform, Phantom uses a scalable aluminium spaceframe developed around the requirements of Rolls-Royce vehicles. Large cast joints connect the structure's major sections. Aluminium extrusions extend between them, while double-skin structural areas create a rigid foundation beneath the body. This architecture does more than support the car. Its proportions allow Phantom to carry its long bonnet, upright front and expansive passenger cabin. Its structure also contributes to acoustic isolation, reducing the paths through which noise and vibration can enter. By the time the aluminium body is ready for surface finishing, its principal mounting points and panel interfaces have already been established. Technicians inspect the structure for irregularities before expensive finishing materials are applied. A small defect at this stage could affect the alignment of a door, the reflection across a painted panel or the fit of an interior component much later. The aluminium foundation may eventually disappear beneath paint, insulation and leather, but every visible layer depends upon its accuracy. The body enters the exterior surface center as exposed metal and prepared panels. Paint will not conceal poor preparation. It will magnify it. The surface is clean so that dust, oil and microscopic contamination cannot become trapped beneath the coating. Under controlled lighting, technicians examine curves that will eventually reflect everything around them. For this Phantom, the selected finish is a deep midnight blue. Automated spraying systems apply the coatings with repeatable coverage across the large body. Machines are particularly valuable here because the speed, distance and overlap of every pass affect the consistency of the finish. But the number of stages depends upon the individual commission. The most complex finishes can require as many as 20 individual layers of lacquer. Each layer adds visual depth, but also creates another opportunity for contamination, unevenness, or a visible surface defect. After curing, the body is inspected beneath long bands of directional light. Reflections expose distortions that ordinary room lighting might hide. The final piano-like appearance is then developed through hand polishing. For more than 4 hours, craftspeople work across the enormous bonnet, doors, wings and roof, gradually refining the surface. Too little correction can leave texture in the reflection. Too much can disturb the uniformity of the finish. Only when light travels cleanly across the body does the Phantom move forward. Now comes one of the clearest demonstrations of human control in the entire process. Along the finished body, an artisan applies the Phantom's coachline using a fine brush made from natural materials. There is no strip of masking tape creating its edges. The brush must travel across long doors and curved panels while the craftsperson maintains the same pressure, position and thickness. On Phantom, the completed line is 3 mm wide. For this commission, a silver coachline forms a quiet contrast against the midnight blue paint. A small geometric motif is added near the front wing, also by hand. The work sits directly on top of a finish that has already required hours of preparation and polishing. A hesitation, a change in pressure or a misplaced movement cannot be concealed beneath another component. For these few minutes, the value of every previous paint stage depends upon one steady hand. While the exterior is being finished, the cabin materials begin their own transformation. Each leather hide is examined manually beneath high-intensity lighting. Natural leather carries marks and variations. Areas unsuitable for prominent interior surfaces are identified and outlined with chalk. The hide is then placed beneath a modern cutting system. Laser-projected outlines show the pieces required for seats, door panels, the dashboard and other upholstered components. An algorithm arranges the shapes around the marked areas, but the final layout is not accepted blindly. A craftsperson can adjust the positioning to protect the most visible pieces and use the material more effectively. After cutting, the edges of the leather sections are skived. This reduces their thickness from approximately 1.5 mm to about 0.6 mm where two pieces will meet. Without this thinning, overlapping layers could form bulky seams beneath the finished surface. Skilled operators then join the sections using precision sewing machines. The stitch length, thread tension and alignment must remain consistent, even as a seam curves around a seat bolster. For this Phantom, dark navy leather is combined with pale silver stitching. The sewing machine creates consistency, but the craftsperson guides the material and continually judges how the flat pattern will behave when pulled over a three-dimensional form. The sewn leather covers must now become sculpted interior surfaces. Hand stretch, position and smooth the material around seat cushions, headrests, armrests and curved door sections. The tension must be strong enough to remove wrinkles, but not so strong that it distorts a seam or pulls the grain unevenly. Corners and recesses are worked gradually. Hidden fastenings secure the leather beneath the visible edges. As each component takes shape, inspectors examine the spacing of the stitches and the way light moves across the surface. A finished seat may appear soft and relaxed, but that appearance depends upon carefully controlled tension beneath it. The comfort passengers eventually feel begins with accuracy they may never notice. In the interior surface center, thin sheets of Royal Walnut veneer are being prepared for the same Phantom. All of its visible wood components are selected from one tree. This gives the interior a unique grain pattern and helps the separate pieces age consistently over time. Before cutting, the veneer is stored for at least 3 days in a controlled humidor maintained at 23 degrees Celsius and 75% humidity. The controlled moisture keeps the thin sheets flexible and reduces the risk of cracking when they are pressed into complex shapes. Specialists then study the grain. The sheets are arranged until the pattern forms a precise chevron. Rolls-Royce describes a 55-degree matching angle for straight-grained Royal Walnut. The selected sheets are bonded into larger surfaces and pressed over curved dashboard forms. Precision cutting then creates the shapes required for the dashboard, doors and rear passenger area. Natural wood can still contain tiny blemishes. Rather than concealing them with a generic filler, a craftsperson can cut a color-matched sliver from an off-cut of the same veneer. The affected section is carefully removed, and the replacement is inserted using a scalpel and fine tools. The repaired area is blended through sanding, inspected and coated with lacquer. After the lacquer has dried, the slight surface texture is sanded back and polished until the grain appears suspended beneath a mirror-like finish. What looks like one uninterrupted piece of perfect wood is actually a collection of separate components, aligned by eye and joined with extraordinary care. Phantom also contains a feature unique within the current Rolls-Royce range. Across its fascia is the gallery, a glass enclosure designed to display a commissioned artwork. For this car, the chosen piece is an abstract arrangement of brushed and polished metal, shaped to suggest movement across water. Because dust or fingerprints could remain trapped behind the glass, final gallery assembly takes place inside a specialized clean room. Only 2 associates are permitted inside at one time. They wear lint-free clothing, gloves and controlled footwear to minimize contamination. The artwork and enclosure are examined under ultraviolet light before final assembly. Once sealed into the dashboard, the piece becomes part of the Phantom while remaining visually separate from its instruments. Engineering, interior architecture, and art now occupy the same surface. Above the seats, the Starlight Headliner is created from hundreds of individual optical fibers. Each star begins as a separate perforation in the roof lining. The fibers are inserted by hand and positioned at different depths and angles. These variations cause the points of light to glow with different intensities, preventing the completed ceiling from appearing like a flat, artificial grid. Depending on the design, a Starlight Headliner may contain between 800 and 1600 individual fibers. A standard design can take around 9 hours to create. A personalized constellation may require considerably longer. For this Phantom, the pattern forms a fictional night sky rather than copying a real client's private location or date. After each fiber is inserted, the strands behind the lining must be separated, organized, secured and trimmed. While unlit, the completed roof lining appears almost ordinary. Then power reaches the light source, and hundreds of individual points emerge across the dark surface. A component built from loose fibers has become a private night sky. The painted body and handcrafted interior components must now become a functioning Phantom. Rolls-Royce does not publicly disclose every station in its current final assembly sequence. The following stages therefore represent a qualified reconstruction based on normal premium automotive practice and confirmed Phantom components. The suspension, steering, braking equipment, electrical networks, climate system and drivetrain are brought together using guided fixtures and lifting systems. At the center of the current Phantom is a 6.75-liter V12 engine. Heavy assemblies are positioned mechanically while technicians guide connectors, mounts and protected lines into place. Critical fasteners are secured using calibrated tools. Wiring harnesses must follow fixed routes without twisting or abrasion. Electrical connections are checked before they disappear behind protective panels and finished trim. Glass, exterior lighting and door systems are integrated without damaging the polished body. Every operation now carries 2 risks. The system must function correctly, and surfaces that have already consumed many hours of craftsmanship must remain untouched. Protective covers shield the sills, doors and interior openings as the Phantom moves toward final integration. The dashboard enters the body as a complex assembly of electronics, ventilation, polished walnut veneer and the completed gallery. Its position determines how several independent surfaces meet. The wood must align with the doors. The glass enclosure must sit evenly. Switches and displays must remain accessible without disturbing the visual calm of the cabin. The seats are lowered into place using dedicated lifting equipment. Door panels are connected and aligned. Carpets, consoles and rear passenger fittings close the remaining spaces. Finally, the Starlight Headliner is raised carefully into the roof. The optical fibers cannot be crushed, sharply bent or pulled from their positions. When the interior systems activate, materials produced in separate departments are seen together for the first time. The navy leather, silver stitching, polished royal walnut, metal gallery and fibre-optic sky no longer appear to be individual components. They have become one environment. Assembly does not automatically make the Phantom ready for delivery. The exact Rolls-Royce final inspection sequence is not fully public, but the logic of high-end automotive quality control is clear. Electronic diagnostic systems check control modules and stored faults. Lights, displays, seat functions, climate controls and power doors are operated. Inspectors study the alignment of exterior panels and interior surfaces. Seals must sit consistently. The continuation of the veneer is examined across the dashboard and doors. Paint is viewed beneath intense directional lighting. A reflection that changes unexpectedly can reveal a defect invisible under ordinary conditions. The cabin is also checked for unwanted noise. In such a quiet vehicle, a minor vibration or hidden rattle that would disappear inside a conventional car can become obvious. Controlled water testing can reveal a seal that is not seated correctly. Dynamic evaluation can expose problems that cannot be identified while the vehicle is stationary. If any fault is found, the Phantom returns to the responsible area. The correction may be small, but the principle is absolute. The car is inspected again before it is permitted to progress. Luxury is not created by pretending defects never occur. It is created by refusing to release them. Only after the Phantom passes inspection are its protective coverings removed. The aluminium structure has disappeared beneath midnight blue paint polished like a piano. A 3mm silver line stretches across the body. Chalk-marked hides have become sculpted seats. Thin sheets from one tree form a continuous landscape through the cabin. Hundreds of loose fibers have become a night sky. A sealed work of art now occupies the dashboard. More than 600 hours of machinery, engineering and human judgment have been compressed into an object designed to feel effortless. That is what hand-built means in a modern Rolls-Royce. It does not mean rejecting technology. It means allowing machines to deliver consistency, while reserving the final decisions for human eyes, hands, and experience. When the V12 starts, the doors close and the spirit of ecstasy rises above the grille, the manufacturing process disappears. Only the Phantom remains. Subscribe to discover how the world's most remarkable products are designed, built and perfected.